Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about the O word, optimism. Now this is very important when you are trading almost anything really. If you're trading equities, if you're trading currencies, if you're trading futures, it's all centered around optimism and fear, right? Very simple. And what in particular, optimism in forex affects a couple currencies, right? It affects the yen. Please forgive my handwriting or mouse writing, I should say. It affects the yen, it affects the Australian dollar, and it affects the New Zealand dollar the most. Um, and it also affects the US dollar. Right, these are safe havens. These are risk currencies, right? So these perform the opposite job, let's say, right? So when there's optimism, these guys appreciate. When there's fear, these guys appreciate. In general, right? Now, what I want to talk about in this video is how much optimism is there left running in the markets, right? Because if you look at, the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, they've had an amazing year since March. And that's just because there's actually been a lot of optimism since we had that stock market, crash and sell off and lots of fear. Ever since March, April, there has been optimism basically. Yeah, there's been some bumps in the road, but overall, these guys have appreciated and these guys have depreciated, right? So I want to talk about how much optimism is there left in the tank, right? Are we halfway there? Are we more than halfway there? Are we down to here? How much optimism is there left before things sort of level out and we're back in normal, right? Well, in order to talk about this, we need to understand what has been priced into the market already, right? And what is still yet to be priced in. So let's talk about that. So here is our optimism meter. Excuse me. So here's our optimism meter, right? And just to start off, let's just say it's about this full, let's say, right? So what has been priced into the market so far? Well, so far, what has happened? So the U.S. has approved a vaccine finally from Pfizer. I don't even know if I spelled that right. Anyways, they have approved a vaccine. The UK has approved a vaccine. Right. So those are the two major Western countries that have approved a vaccine so far. I think the UK approved. I don't know if it was Pfizer or it was Moderna or if it was AstraZeneca. I forgot which one the UK approved, but the US approved the Pfizer vaccine so far, and the EU, right, so Europe basically, is still waiting, right? So we don't yet have a vaccine in the EU area. So we still have that to be priced in, but this has been priced in here on this optimism. What else has been priced in? Low interest rates by central banks. We're just going to say CB. Low interest rates, right? The Fed, low interest rates. Well, ECB has already had low interest rates, so that's nothing new. But right, we have the Bank of England. We have oh God, RBA, right? We have all these central banks with very low rates this year, so that has been priced in. Does low interest rates cause optimism? No, but it has caused a rise in U.S. equities. Also, that's a fancy way of saying the stock market, right? That is very good for the stock market, which has helped optimism, right? Stock market's doing good, investors are more optimistic, right? By the way, when I'm saying optimism, I'm not talking about some random guy on the street. I'm talking about optimism within the financial markets, within investors, within the economy, right? That's what I mean when I say optimism and fear. What is what is optimistic, what is good for the economy. So that has all been priced in. A little bit of easing, a tiny bit of easing, right? Because when the stock market crashed, um, lockdowns were probably at its tightest, right? Everything was closed pretty much but essential business, right? But over the summer, that sort of started easing a little bit, which was also helping fuel this optimism. Um, so all this has been pretty much priced in, right? So is there a way that I can copy this? Let's see. Copy. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if I can paste this. Hey, all right, cool. So that's good. All right. So now we need to talk about, how much optimism we have left in the tank, right? How much more can we see? Well, in order to figure that out, let's look at what has not been priced into the markets yet. So, number one, we have vaccinations. Oh, God. Okay. Yeah. Well, you got the first part. Vaccinations, right? People getting vaccinated, older people, high risk groups getting vaccinated has not yet happened yet in most Western countries, right? I don't know about China and Russia because, they have had a vaccine for months now, supposedly. So who knows what you can trust with them. But in terms of Western countries, Europe uh, and North America, we have not yet seen mass vaccinations, right? Yes, US and the UK have approved them, but they haven't been distributed widely yet and given widely yet. So we still have that, which is a big one, right? Because vaccinations will help fuel lockdown easing, which brings me to the next point. Um, Lockdown easing, right? Lockdown easing. Again, forgive my bad writing. Lockdown easing. That's another huge one, especially when we're talking about, optimism for the economy, right? Lockdown easing is going to mean every business can now open, right? If everyone gets vaccinated, we can open everything up. That means movie theaters. That means every store, every shop, indoor, outdoor seating, anything you want, right? Back to normal, which means businesses will obviously be in a much better place once that happens. That's another big one, right? So going back to normal business wise, vaccinations, and this one is coming up probably, well, definitely before these, and I even talked about it in the last slide, EU vaccine approval. We're just going to do that, right? So the EU has not yet approved a vaccine. Last week, the US approved a vaccine. That was very good for optimism. And you could see that with the stock market. You could see that with, right here, you see AJ, JPY. That one is really good for measuring fear and greed, also known as optimism. Greed and optimism are, the same thing when we're talking about financial markets. So that has been performing very well last week because the U.S. approved vaccine. So once this happens, we would expect, that to help out as well. Now we have all these things, which is all pretty large things, right? EU vaccine approval, lockdowns easing, and well, eventually going away, and vaccinations, right? And less COVID deaths, less COVID cases, right? So all this is not yet priced into the markets. Some of it is, right, because we know it's coming. We know vaccinations are coming. We know this is coming. We know this is coming. So part of it is already somewhat priced in, but not fully because it hasn't happened yet, right? And we're not close enough yet. We're not close enough to opening everything up, right? That could be even a few months down the line potentially. That could be February, March, April. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's January, February, but highly doubt it. Most people will be vaccinated by the middle of 2021 is what expected. So we are a little bit down the line for some of these things, right? However, we still have a good amount left in the tank here. I think we're probably over halfway in terms of how much optimism we have left before, again, things sort of stabilize and go back to normal. But with all this that has not yet happened, I think we have a good ways to go. So I am personally looking for, the Australian dollar looks attractive. I'm bullish on the Australian dollar. I am bullish on the New Zealand dollar, but to a lesser extent. I'm bearish on the yen. I talked about this in 2 videos ago. I'm bearish on the yen. I think it has, further downside to go. I am somewhat bearish on the US dollar. Again, it also acts as a safe haven. So for all these reasons, I do think, a good amount has been priced in, but we still have a good ways to go before we reach, that peak optimism where, it can't keep going. There's not enough good things anymore to keep it going. And then we'll see, again, things sort of stabilize, and then we'll go from there. We'll see what happens from there, right? I expect the peak optimism to probably happen at the start of 2021 once all this stuff happens. This is expected by in December. So this should happen, within the next 2-3 weeks probably. This will start happening, on a wider scale, start of 2021. So this should peak for sure in the first half of 2021 is what I'm looking at. When exactly that is, we'll just have to see the timeline of, how fast we ease, how fast we get vaccinations out. But yeah, I hope this helped. I hope this shed a little bit of light on, what's been priced into the market, what hasn't, and use that for your trading decisions. Remember, nothing ever goes up in a straight line, right? Even though I think longer term, this has more upside potential. It's going to see some pullbacks. It's going to see some times where nothing's going on in the news, and so it'll pull back and it'll, whatever. But we're talking overall, right? Over a period of a few months. So anyways, hope this helped, guys. If it did, please hit that subscribe button down below and smash that like button for more content like this. I'll see you guys in the next one.
I come from a town where most of the people are so close-minded. They go into school and they work in a job, but they don't even like it. I won't be put in a box. Nobody telling me what I should rock. Nobody telling me what I should